Okay, before we talk about each of these things, I should say something quickly about money in general. The properties of durability, divisibility, fungibility, acceptability, portability, uniformity, and being in limited supply are all important to a physical currency. What's essential to money per se, however, is its function as a medium of exchange, as a store of value, and as a unit of account. Any physical or non-physical thing that can perform these functions can be money. But generally speaking, in order to perform these functions, a thing must be in limited and stable supply over time, and must have legitimacy in the minds of potential users. Some economic anthropologists have argued that, historically speaking, money, whatever its form happened to take, was not primarily for market exchange of goods and services originally, but rather its purpose was as a record and as a means of settling debts and for paying taxes. Legitimacy for a thing as money was derived primarily from formal laws imposed on the populace by a ruling authority or by customs handed down by tradition through the ages. Okay, let's get to our examples. Let's look at the case of fish. Actually, it was dried fish in the 1600s in the American colonies. Now, that's obviously not the American colonies. This is commodity money. That is, a commodity money is a commodity which has some kind of use value and can be exchanged in a marketplace, but is used as money. It becomes a universal measure of value and as a means of exchange. Now, this is obviously problematic for us in terms of durability. In the American colonies, the fish was dried fish, but there are actually lots of different kinds of money which were used in the American colonies in the 1600s. There's an endless list of things which were sanctioned as money. In Massachusetts in the 1830s, a law was passed saying corn is an acceptable form for paying your debts. If, and only if, you don't have badger skins. Then you have to pay your debts in badger skins and pay taxes in badger skins. And then we come to the all-time classic which everyone thinks about when they think of money, and that is precious metal money. Say gold coins, for example. This again is commodity money because gold could just be a commodity by itself. It doesn't have to be money. Metal coins have been popular historically because of their durability, divisibility, fungibility, acceptability, portability, uniformity, and being in limited supply. Note that its success as money came to depend on the sovereign or the state having control over metal mines to control the supply, and over minting for uniformity and legitimacy. A problem that could arise, and occasionally did arise, is the discovery of new sources of gold, which could devalue the precious metal, and thus the coins out of which they were made, and thus creates inflation in goods prices. So, for example, in Spain and thence in the rest of Western Europe in the 1500s, this problem arose because of the conquest of South America by Spain and the discovery of massive quantities of gold. Another problem with gold and silver coins is that people may clip them. This is where you shave metal from the coin's circumference, and then you can boil down the shavings to make a new blob of gold. Or sweating the coins. This is where you would put gold coins into a bag and you'd shake them around for yonks, and then this would create gold dust, which would be trapped in the bag. And then you can collect it all together and melt it down into a little ball of gold. So you're actually effectively, quote-unquote, stealing gold from the gold coins so that you could make more gold things. So in Britain in the 1600s, it became such a problem that it was eventually made an act of treason, punishable by death, to engage in coin clipping or coin sweating. One major problem with attempts to reintroduce gold coins today, as has been tried in some Middle Eastern countries and Malaysia, is that the world price of gold can fluctuate wildly on a daily and monthly basis and a yearly basis. Also, because the price of gold is so high, one coin can be worth between $1,800 and $2,000 US. It means that it's not really practical for day-to-day purchases. You can't go down the shops and buy your groceries with a gold coin because it's worth $2,000. It's not practical. What about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a fiat cryptocurrency. It has a limited use as a medium of exchange because it's not widely believed to be legitimate money, and not many people hold Bitcoin. You see if you can buy a hamburger with Bitcoin, or get a haircut with Bitcoin, or buy a horse, or a house, or a Mars bar, or a kebab, or anything. Your day-to-day expenditure. It doesn't matter how much Bitcoin you've got, you can't buy anything with the Bitcoin. It's also subject to speculative purchasing, so its value fluctuates wildly, which means that it's not useful as a store of value. Here's the verdict from the National Bureau of Economic Research. So I'll just quote them here. A bona fide currency functions as a medium of exchange, a store of value, and as a unit of account, but Bitcoin largely fails to satisfy these criteria. Bitcoin has achieved only scant consumer transaction volume, with an average well below one daily transaction for the few merchants who accept it. Its volatility is greatly higher than the volatilities of widely used currencies, imposing large short-term risk upon users. Bitcoin daily exchange rates exhibit virtually zero correlation with widely used currencies and with gold, making Bitcoin useless for risk management and exceedingly difficult for its owners to hedge. Safe to say, Bitcoin is not yet legitimate money. It's what we'd call crypto money, at best. Maybe in the future it will be something different, but I don't know, I think that's unlikely. Anyway, lucky last, we come to the electronic records of bank deposits. So savings accounts, investment accounts, and so on. This is fiat money and meets the three criteria for the functions of money. Like all fiat money, it's backed by the communal belief that it serves as money, which in turn is ultimately backed by the communal belief that the institutions which keep these records are stable, reliable, and legally legitimate. So that's where we're talking about private banks and the central bank. You should note that the electronic deposits don't need to take the physical form of notes and coins in order to count as real money, nor are deposit records merely markers of real notes and coins. Deposit records are the real money in themselves. For example, if we move to a cashless society, it wouldn't mean that there wouldn't be any money anymore. It would simply mean there would be no physical form of the money. It would be all electronic. As an aside, Australian notes and coins are effectively fiat money too. It's not commodity money because these days the notes and coins have almost no inherent value as things in themselves. In themselves, they're virtually worthless pieces of plastic and crappy bits of alloy.